Hi guys, I was going to make a video today, post a video today about really an open letter to law enforcement, asking, talking to law enforcement about the crime that we call organized stalking. Obviously, we don't know the official term for it. It seems very much like COINTELPRO, part of COINTELPRO, maybe a bit of MK Ultra, Zersetzung for sure. But what they call it today, I don't think most of us know. Either way, I'm going to call it organized. That's what I call it, organized stalking. So, yeah, this video is going to be about just a plea to law enforcement to help us, and just an attempt at explaining to them a little bit of what's going on and what's needed of them. And I understand that there are law enforcement officials who are going along with it, but I'm sure that there are plenty who aren't. Anyway, but because of the situation, I've decided to change the topic of this video. This So we just found out that the shooter in Milwaukee, there was the recent shooting in Milwaukee, and once again the shooter said that people were coming into his home and tampering with bugging his computer and moving furniture around. I think he said they were moving chairs around, and that's classic organized stalking. That's what it is. Unfortunately, and we already know what the media is going to do, right? We already know that he's going to be brushed off as mentally ill, which is going to further stigmatize people who have real mental illness. It's also going to put further stigma on any of the actual victims of organized stalking who complain about the same thing, right? And I'm sure he was too, right? But this is going to be further discredited as mental illness. So any of us who speak up about this type of thing are going to automatically be deemed not just mentally ill, but a potential threat. And that's where this is headed. And it also leads to a situation where the population at large is, at some point is going to be disarmed. I think that's what the authorities want, to disarm the entire population. And right, the more mass shootings there are, the easier it is for those in charge to make more extreme gun laws, right? And so with the red flag laws right now, it's going to be mostly the victims who are disarmed. It's going to be the victims of crime who are disempowered, especially victims of covert warfare and covert stalking campaigns, because these things are very hard to prove. And once it becomes stigmatized, once it's put out there that people who discuss these things or believe that these things are real have a mental illness, obviously the people who speak about these things are going to be discredited immediately as mentally ill, which means they're not going to get help, are they? Right? If someone is believed to be paranoid or mentally ill, they're not going to be taken seriously when they go for help. And of course, given the red flag laws, then they're also going to be disarmed. They're going to be prevented from defending themselves against the real criminals. And of course, the real criminals who appear to be well-adjusted members of society, they get, they end up keeping their weapons and whatever they're using to attack, innocent people. The innocent people they're driving crazy. We know how this works, and it's going to get worse, right? The more people who are driven to this point, who are tormented to the point where they do go on these insane shooting sprees, okay? The more attention, the more negative attention is going to be drawn to this issue, and the harder it's going to be for other targets to speak about what's happening to them without fearing that stigma, okay? Without fearing receiving a mental illness label, the consequences of that, right? Once someone decides that you're potentially violent, you're in trouble. Harder and harder to talk about these things now. He thought that people were coming into his home, bugging his computer, moving furniture around. Well, why did, for example, why would someone think that their computer is being bugged? Well, because things that we do in private, people on the outside, sometimes random strangers begin repeating to us things that we say and do in private, okay? Or even repeating to us our entire online list of things we purchased online. How else would they know that? It's meant to show us. It's meant to show targets that we are being spied on in one way or another, whether it's computer bugging or cameras being put in our home or whatever else. Okay, it's meant to show us that we're being spied on even in private. Okay, but when we complain about it, it seems so crazy we're deemed mentally ill. Now, it's going to get harder for targets because they're not just going to be considered mentally unstable, but they're going to be considered a potential threat as well. And this is what we need to try to avoid. So once again, I'm first of all talking to other targets. Please if you're listening to this, do not do not kill unless it's in self-defense, unless you're in immediate trouble. Okay, if it's in self-defense from an immediate threat, but otherwise do not lash out physically. Okay, do not lash out violently, because this is exactly what the organizers running this sick program want. They want you to lash out violently. Why? Because then you neutralize yourself also, right? You kill someone, then you get discredited. Okay, even if you live, you're going to be thrown in prison, right? You get discredited that way. And of course, the perpetrators that you end up killing, well, they were part of this program. They knew that they were going around. They were told to make comments to people and gestures toward people, and that's exactly what the targets are saying they're doing. So they were a risk too, right? The perpetrators, their lives don't mean anything to the people, to the organizers who hire them. So now look what happened. The target was neutralized, and so were the perpetrators who knew what was going on. And I'm not saying that every person was guilty. In many cases, this sick program is arranged so that you can never know who's innocent and who's guilty. And because a lot of the attack methods they're so common, you never know if the person you're dealing with is another perpetrator. So I think there are a lot of targets who, you just can't know who's innocent and who isn't, who's part of this sick program and who isn't. So when someone snaps, they snap on, whoever's around, it looks like, because they don't know if the people are innocent or guilty. And that's whoever's running this sick program is looking to create the maximum amount of violence. And in reality, most targets don't kill. They don't kill other people, okay? Because why? Most targets have been, recently relatively benign. Many were human rights activists. They were, civil rights activists during the civil rights era when COINTELPRO was waged on them. They're whistleblowers. They're humanitarians. Most are nonviolent. But you never know. Even the most innocent, calm, benign individual, after years of torment and torture, psychological, emotional, even spiritual, can be driven to the breaking point, unfortunately. Right, what you're seeing with these guys, and it's happened before, a lot of the other mass shooters complained that they were being followed, that people were making comments and gestures and could see and hear them in private. And why did they think people could see and hear them in private? Well, because people were making comments to and around them regarding things that they said and did in private. Right? If you're a target, do not give the psychopaths behind this program what they want, all right? Do not act out with violence unless you have to save your life or the life of a family member, if you're in an immediate threat, okay, if you're in immediate physical danger. And then only do what you have to do in order to stop that threat, okay? If you have to go, don't go any farther than you have to, okay? As far as the population is concerned, listen, folks, you need to knock this off. Okay, if you're involved in anything that involves going up to someone and making certain comments to them or making certain gestures to and around them, don't do it. Instead, you need to report openly what you've been asked to do. You have those texts, you have the emails, however you're getting orders. You can make this known. You can report that, and you need to report it. If you are told to interact with someone in a way that seems strange, report that to the person and then to authorities. Okay, and especially if you're told to go into someone's home and to do things like move furniture around or open a window, or they've done this to us. They've come in and opened a window and left it open for us to find, okay? To tamper with food, to do anything that seems strange or anything at all, okay? If you're told to enter a home without that person's permission, not only should you not do it, but you need to report to law enforcement whoever told you to do it. And if law enforcement won't help you, you need to go public. You need to be whistleblowers. Okay, you need to report these crimes. This is the crime we call organized stalking, where you, the masses, are used to terrorize, torment, hunt, stalk, track, and just psychologically torture innocent human beings. Okay, men and women, innocent human beings, or people who were innocent. But anyone, I think, can be driven to the breaking point. No one is going to remain innocent after years of being tortured on every level. Hunted, stalked, terrorized, shown that they're being watched even in private, even in the bathroom. How sick is this? Okay, this is perverse. Okay, you need to look out for these signs. The red flags you really need to look out for. Okay, it's not people complaining about this happening to them. No, the red flags are anyone who asks you to do these things. Anyone who asks you to go to someone and make a certain comment or gesture that seems, or interact with someone like that in a manner where, they don't know what's going on. They don't know what you're going to mean, or it might mean something to them, but maybe you don't even know what it means. You're just told to say something stupid or make a certain gesture, all right? Right, a no swipe or whatever gesture. It could be anything, I guess. If you're told to follow someone and track them and monitor them and send identifying information to another source, all of these things are being used. All of these, I don't know if you're taking jobs. Some of you might believe you're helping a community watch program, but you need to think. Use your brain, okay? How are you helping keep your community safe? By going up to someone and making strange comments and strange gestures, okay? By driving someone to total paranoia and then lying about it. Knowing that they're going to be accused of mental illness for complaining about something that you know damn well is actually happening, but you refuse to admit. People are going to know you're doing this. They're going to say, hey, people are following me around. They're making certain comments. They're making certain gestures. And the comments are referencing things that I said and did in private. Okay, obviously it's meant for the target to understand that, it's meant for the target to know that it's happening. Okay, so when you then deny it, all you're going to do is intentionally lead to a mental health diagnosis for the target. When you know that what he or she is complaining about is actually happening because you're involved in that. How in the hell can you think you're helping someone or you're helping the community when instead you're trying to set someone up on a false diagnosis? You're trying to set someone up for a false mental illness diagnosis by lying, by doing these things and then lying about it, and by refusing to speak up. Okay, you need to think. And if you're breaking into someone's home and moving furniture around or opening a window or doing whatever you're told, that's not going to help the community any. That's meant to let someone know that his or her home was invaded, that you're there. It's meant to frighten and terrorize. I mean, how stupid can anyone be to go along with this and to think that they're doing something positive? All right, so I'm angry. I'm angry today. Today is not a good day. I'm going to cut this video short. To the human population as a whole. You need to get over your insatiable desire to run with a pack, to hunt, to stalk, and to terrorize other people. I don't care how good it makes you feel. You are hurting people and you're leading to innocent people dying. Because I'm sure that not all of those people involved who were killed in this last shooting and in all the shootings were even involved in the stalking campaign that you're helping to create. Not only are you hurting the target, driving the target insane, you're hurting the innocent people who get shot, who get caught in the crossfire when the target finally snaps. All right? Any of you who were involved in this type of campaign against someone else, you need to report that publicly. First of all, so that it's understood that this is happening, that the targets aren't just crazy or paranoid for saying that we're being followed, for saying that people are coming into our home and doing things, moving furniture, opening windows, and doing things like that. Okay? You're doing it. Okay? You need to make that known to the world. That we're not crazy. That it's actually happening. That's the first step. Okay? After that, once it no longer can be denied, it's almost certain that whoever's doing this is going to try to justify it. Okay? And then we'll have to deal with that when we come to it, because that's as anti-American and anti-Constitution as anyone can get. And maybe we should start bringing back laws for treason. I'm going to stop this video here. As for the targets, I know most of you are nonviolent anyway, so this doesn't pertain to you. But for those who are, breaking down and just don't act out violently unless it's in self-defense, unless there's an immediate threat to your life or the lives of others, okay? Because What these sick monsters want you to do is act out violently because they kill two birds with one stone. They get rid of you and the perpetrators who know a little too much and could speak out right now. They could admit that they were involved in this kind of thing, but they can't if they're dead. Okay? Don't kill. We need to find other ways to make this public. I don't know if we can stop it. I still have hope that we can. If I didn't have that hope, I think I would go crazy. But even if we can't stop it, we can still make it public. We need to make it public. And we need to make damn sure that the lying media stops presenting falsehoods to the population. Because they're framing it all as mental illness, which they're told to do. And they're part of these killings. Because the more they lie, the more they try to discredit those of us who are trying to bring the truth out, the longer this crime continues and the more people die because of it. It's time to bring the truth out. Peace.